All right. ChuChu, thank you for having this conversation, agreeing to speak with me on the African Mavericks podcast. How I like to start. I'm a, I don't know if you know this, but I'm a certified yoga instructor. I do all this. I'm into all that mindfulness, meditation stuff. So how I usually like to start is, you know, taking a few deep breaths, 3 if you may, and setting an intention for how you want this conversation to go. So do you mind indulging me real quick? Let's do that. So when you're ready, 3 deep breaths, then, and as you do that, set an intention of how you want the conversation to go, then we'll get going.
All right, let's do it.
All right, how you feeling now? Hope a little bit present. I'd like to start by asking you to share, a bit about your background. You can go as far back as you want, even maybe to childhood. And in doing that, like share some pivotal moments that led you to what you're doing today.
All right, cool. So started off, since it's childhood, let me just start from childhood so it's a lot easier, but I'll keep it really short. I lived in a normal house in Lagos, like average family, lived in a face me, I face you. To be very honest, that's what it was. Grew up there in Gbagada. Gbagada is a very central place in Lagos on the mainland. Grew up there. I didn't really we weren't really like really rich, but I just always had this sense of, my dad always instilled in us that you work hard and, you get what you want in life. So it's not that difficult to really make it if you're really sure of what you want. So I've just always had that in mind, so I was always content with whatever I had. So never really had much, grew up, but fortunately for me, in my late teens, I got the opportunity to go to India. And that was the first time I was ever entering a plane. Like I never knew where a plane was till there I went to school in India. And I went to India, spent 6 years there, studied information technology at the University of Mumbai. Came back to Nigeria, got my first job at InterSwitch. Worked in a couple of places now. I've worked from InterSwitch, worked with VConnect before it shut down, worked with Greenlight Planet. So worked in a lot of sectors, financial technology, renewable energy, ride hailing with Bolt. I've done expense management. I've done SES, software as a service. I've even done what's it called, supply chain management. But in all of that, the reason why or what led me up to this point was what I faced in India and what I faced growing up, right? So growing up, as I said, I always knew that, whatever it is that you want in life, you get it. Going to India, I had to face the harsh realities of racism, right? And that made me realize that, the world is not as pretty as I thought it was. You get what I'm saying? And there are a lot of people that don't think that you're as worthy as you think you are. So it really made me reinvigorate myself and have like a sense of focus as to what I want to do myself. So when I left school, I knew for sure that I was going to touch various sectors. I knew for sure that I was going to be in a role where I would be the front person talking about the company, the product. At that point, I didn't know it was sales, but I just knew that I was going to be that guy that was going to be in front, talking to people, getting them to see, not just solutions, but solutions that are sustainable. Fortunately, when I finished school was when sustainable development goals came about. So everything just aligned, and I found a calling to say, okay, you know what, anything that aligns with the sustainable development goals, given that it builds on what we are as Africans, right? That's what I'm going to align with, and that's what led me up to where I am today.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. It's interesting to hear how your experience in India influenced your mindset. But who would you say have been some of your influences? You mentioned your dad. Who would you say were your other influences along this journey, or mentors that you've had that have influenced your journey so far?
So I'd say first off, after my dad, I would say definitely the head of department at my school in India.
Okay.
He was just, he was God sent. There's no other way to put it, because it was a different behavior towards me. He really helped me to understand that, I'm coming from a different country. I was the first African in my entire department. That's the entire information technology department. Like a course as prestigious as information technology, computer engineering. I was the first African in the history of the department. So coming in there, I used to play football, and I won't lie, I wasn't the best. I'm not gonna lie about it. Like I wasn't great at it, but there are a lot of people that are a lot more better than I was. But he always used to just remind me that, you know what, this football thing you're doing, focus on school too, because you have to go back to your country, and there's a lot that is at stake for you. These guys are playing football because back then in school, if you played football, you got marks for it. I don't know if they do that in Nigeria or anywhere else, but in India, if you played football for school, you got the bare minimum, which was 40% to pass your course. So some people never even stepped in the class the entire semester. They ended up passing the semester. That's how it was. So I didn't really take it seriously at first, but he made me understand that there's a lot more you can do. I see that but we had this course then called product management, and that was where he really saw that I liked to talk about products. I like to really deep dive, and he really made me understand that I could do a lot more. Beyond him, I think my first line manager at InterSwitch, Okwadeoye, who is like the pioneer of Quick Teller, if I do say so myself, he also made me understand that, like, it's not just because I was the lowest guy in the team. Like, I was the lowest guy in the team in InterSwitch. There was nobody lower than me that was on the books as a staff. So
Mm.
I really started from the bottom, bottom, bottom. Like, there was trust me, it was just there's no other way to say it. Like, and he made me understand that look, I get that you're coming up, and this is your first job. My first job, like I was thrown into the dungeon. My first job was literally InterSwitch, Quick Teller, mining data, looking at the data, checking out what data is saying, knowing what do we need to focus on. So it was intensive from the get go. Like that's how I started my career. It wasn't like a joke thing. And it made me understand that, you can really build on this, right? He gave me a lot of responsibilities. I remember when he allowed me to do a project presentation for the rest of the team. So every year when Quick Teller launches a new update, we have this session where we take everybody to like a stakeholder forum, like in a hotel or an event center around the office, and then we present the new
Mhm.
features. And Okpa put me on the pedestal to present, and that was the first time doing that, and it really made me like see myself differently. Even though it was my first job, as I said, I wasn't really earning much at the time. I didn't really have the knowledge I needed, but it just made me understand that you don't need to have so much. As far as you're ready and you feel you can do it, go ahead and do it, and then you learn along the way, like you said earlier. I think another person that I would also give props to, which I don't think you would even be expecting, is my boss at Greenlight Planet, the company I worked with. He allowed me to. He was the first guy that really sent me out to say, you know what, go to this country on your own, go to that country on my own. Like again, I never expected it. So, and it led to a lot. It led to me being able to create a policy in Liberia that will always have my name on it. That's something I think that's my proudest achievement in life right now. Because that ability for him to say, you know what, go out and do it, made me go out, and then I ended up meeting the guys at RREA, some guys at Tony Blair Institute for Global Change, and together we came up with policies that led to solar products today entering Liberia at zero importation duty, zero. Like you're not paying anything extra. If you're buying it from $2 in China, it's coming into Liberia at $2. There's nothing extra. We did that, and that's also from being able to just put me on out there and say, you know what, go out there and do stuff, at the time. And it really also made me understand that I could really do, these things. And I'd say that's really, people beyond, my family that made me understand that I don't have a master's. I just have my degree and a few other certificates that I added. But, that push and that belief is really what's got me down today.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And it's good to have like mentors that see that potential in you and put you out there it, it, uh, into the jungle, like he said, for you to fend for yourself. The whole idea of this podcast is to promote independent thinking and purposeful living amongst young Africans. Right? I know that's an unsexy topic, but basically, what it's really what it's really about is to promote the idea that you don't have to, first of all, go along with what your parents say this is how life is supposed to go for you. It's for you to, do the soul searching required to figure out where your interest lies, your passions lie, then going down that route to figuring it out for yourself, right? So it's interesting to see that, you've gone from an from an IT background, academic background, into sales. So can you speak on some of the challenges you faced on that journey and maybe even like convincing your parents or people in your family of the career change, or if there are other challenges that you faced, speak on it, please.
Definitely. So you know this one very well. Like there's always every family wants to have a doctor in the house. It's normal. Like everybody wants that. let me not be broad. Let me say every Eastern family, Southeastern family wants a doctor in the house, right? It's the pride of the house to see, oh, my family. Every family wants a doctor, right? And initially, when we were starting off as kids, I seemed to be the one that was more very intelligent. I remember when the 6 extra states came out, because if you remember, it used to be 30 states in Nigeria, and then they added 6 more. When the 6 came out, I knew those states before everybody else. I knew them, and I knew them before everybody else. So it was a thing of pride for me then, like, I knew the 6 states. So it was one of the things that growing up, right, I just knew that, okay, I was going to do like a very hard course, or I was going to do like medicine. I wanted to be a pilot at some point. And my parents were always proud of that. They wanted me to do what I believed in. And I think I would say it's the direction that my dad gave. And it's also just that I can't give him enough props. He's my dad, but to be very honest, I'm very grateful for the things that he did, because he's the one that set me on this path, to be very honest. Because when I came back to Nigeria, I came back with a pass. I don't have a first class. I don't have a second class. I don't have a third class. I have a
Mm,
pass. Yeah, I don't know if you
mm,
understand. Like, it's like failing, more or less, because you spent years abroad and you come back to Nigeria. Nobody expected me to be anything. Nobody expect. I didn't even expect me to be anything, because I came back to the past again. It's I felt like, I'd failed, but he made me understand that, look, it's in you. It's not what's on the certificate, and I've been able to prove that just by doing what I do for 10 years. And I think that's really what, the initial challenge. I wouldn't say it was a challenge, because just going back to what you were, the question you asked. Sorry for digressing a bit. The initial challenge was in India, and this is not a challenge, because actually it's the reverse. Every course you study has 2 parts. So for IT, you had a tech part and you had a product management part. I excelled at product management. So it was obvious that I was going to be a sales product management kind of guy. In Nigeria, it's not really like that. It's usually just one part, you just go down that one path. But in school, I could tell that I'm leaning more towards product life cycles, understanding how products work, understanding where the issues are, understanding the interfaces with people. Because at the end of the day, it's information technology. There's a technology in it, but there's a human part of it as well, right? So they split into two and made us
mhm,
understand that if you can go down one part or the other, and I went down the product part. Fortunately for me, when I came back to Nigeria, I got a job in Switch and Picture. That was what really solidified it, and I understood that, look, products change lives, and that's why I decided to just go with it. But the main challenge initially was coming back to Nigeria. Obviously, I didn't have a great result, and I thought it was all about the result back then. And I think something that people can learn from is not really about the result. As far as you have it, you keep applying yourself. Second part, obviously, getting a job in Nigeria was very difficult. I had to keep slugging my ass every day. For that, I had targets, right? So I had targets of like maybe 50 jobs I apply for on a weekly basis. And I ensure I meet them, because at the end of the day, what happens is when you don't have a job is depression can set in, right? Now I choose not to have a job because I want to do other things. But back then it was different. You get, then it was more
mm.
of, I wanted a job. I couldn't afford to take care of myself, and I couldn't do a couple of things that normally I'd want to do. But and I kept applying for jobs, and jobs are not coming, right? So that was a major challenge, because it seemed like I was in a box. My first job was with Interswitch. So it was like starting off at the top. Where do you want to go from there? You get, and I was still a low level staff, if you remember. So it was difficult getting another job, because I started up at the top, top, top. So it was a bit hard, but I just had to keep slugging my ass off. I had to have targets for myself every day. And I think the only other challenge was just the ever changing dynamic, because there are a lot of things that are not within your control in terms of, policies, and those things also affect the job itself. So those things are really like the challenges I'll say that were there. But again, just being able to think, critically would help you overcome each and every one of them.
Hmm. I love how you ended that, the ability to think critically. It's a key strength in overcoming challenges, right? I also bless your father's heart for would I say challenging you or pushing you in the direction that you went. It's it's commonplace that a lot of African parents try to, would I say, demand that their kids study certain things or go into certain fields like engineering, doctor, law, that kind of stuff. But it's always a blessing when you see that parents actually encourage and, empower their kids to find their passion and or find their interest and go down that route. So bless your dad. I just wanted to highlight that. Bless your father for that.
So I appreciate it. Thank you.
You ended up with thinking critically, right? Let's talk a little bit about that. When you think about thinking independently, what would you say that means? Like, how would you describe that
So
or
I think,
explain it to
and
somebody?
I'll speak about it in terms of the work, right, business and work and professional life. Thinking
Mm-hmm,
independently, we always like to think outside of the box, think outside of the box, but it's not really thinking outside of the box. It's destroying the box entirely, right? And then creating another box in your mind. That's what it
mm,
means. I'll give you an example. And this practical that applies to me, and I think it applies to a lot of salespeople, right? This time last year in Nigeria, we had an issue with cash, right? CBN had introduced a monetary
mm,
policy that ensured that there was just no money in the system, right? They were changing notes all of a
mm,
sudden. Apparently, they were trying to, work against, anti-corruption in the elections and all that. And there was just no money. At that time, I was working with both, right? We had a restriction.
mm,
People moving around spend cash, usually in Nigeria, and there is no money. What do we do? We're not going to print money. We're not a central bank, and we don't have any liaison directly with central bank. So the box is there already. The box of people pay for trips more with cash. So we already had a problem.
mm,
There were lesser trips.
mm,
There were issues of fake transfers. There were drivers having problems. So what did I do? I went back to the drawing board. I said, okay, you know what? Let's deconstruct this box now. What is the main issue? The issue is paying. What is the hindrance? The hindrance is there is no cash. Let's make it electronic. That's it. So that way, what I did was I got a buy now pay later platform, CredPal, to sit in between and say, okay, you know what? You
mm-hmm,
know these customers, I don't know them. As far as they're able to tell you, because it's a cash crunch at the moment, that I will pay you your money at a certain time. Give them credit, give us credit on their behalf.
mm,
And they said, fine, no problem. And guess what? It worked out so well that even they had to admit that it's the best product they had in a long time. Because people were really willing to pick it up at
mm,
that time. And as I said, there's a box. Thinking independently in that phase is breaking down the box and understanding these things in compartments so that you can then see where the problem lies and
mm,
how you can solve it. It takes a lot of time. This project took about 6 months to implement. The partnership took time to talk about APIs and all that, but eventually you know that you're trying to get something done that would last for years to come.
mm,
So whether you're
mm,
even right now where we have cash in the system, what happens when you're out at the bus station and maybe you've lost your wallet or maybe you don't have cash on you, but you know that you have money at the end of the month and you need to go to somewhere urgently. The product still serves a purpose.
mm.
So I think that independent thinking is, as I said, breaking down the box and creating a new box of your own within boundaries that are a lot more sustainable.
So lovely answer, and love the example you used to explain it. I was going to ask you to give me an example of a time you used independent thought, but you're ahead of the game apparently. But what would you say what would you say are some of the traits of an independent thinker besides being able to see things um in their individual components? What would you say are other traits of an independent thinker?
I think one major trait of an independent thinker is you have to be someone who is the word is genuine. That's the word I want to use, but I'd rather say you need to have empathy, right? Because the whole idea of this independent thinking comes from being able to put yourself in the client or customer shoes in the first place. That's where it starts from.
Mm,
You can't really see
mm,
the boundaries if you're not putting yourself in their shoes. As the CEO of a
mm,
company who has launched the product, you can't really see the issues if you're not a user of the product. So it starts from being able to have that understanding, that granular understanding. Okay, you know what? Beyond my job, there's a product, a process, a service that we are rendering. How efficient is that service? Understanding on a granular level as a user, someone who is interacting with that service, not just selling it. Because again, for me as someone who is selling, I have people who are going to call me years from now, telling me about something I sold to them 10 years ago. It happens all the time. Trust me. I have people who have called me from like 6 years ago, 7 years ago. Yeah, I sold them a solution because they believed in me. I was the first interface they had with that product. As far as Nigerians are concerned, it's you they know. And that's why, religion is a thing today in Nigeria because the pathway to God for everybody is the pastor, the person who they are seeing. So that's who we believe in. Sorry for digressing, but I don't want to use that to explain a point that, okay, for us initially, what happens is when you're the one that convinces me, I believe in you. So as salespeople, I think, this leads me to my second point.
mm,
We need to see ourselves as born as salespeople. we are actually, the catalyst of the next new innovation. It's a lot more than just selling a service, because to today Nigeria, there's a reason why debit card penetration ratio is still below 30%. That means that less than 30% of Nigerians have debit cards. More than 70% still go to the banks. That's the meaning. That's just what it means. A lot of us still walk to the banks to withdraw money, send money out. There's a reason why that happens, and it's the distrust, right? Nobody has really sat down to understand, okay, why is it that people come to the bank? Why is it they don't understand? And then start from there to build a solution, right? It makes sense more that way than, looking at it from the front end as, okay, you're the bank manager, and they're trying to figure out, what new initiative can you throw out? What new discount? It's not always about discounts. It's about understanding initially, what is your product meant to serve? Is it serving that purpose? If it is serving it, how can you make it better from the customer's point of view? Because guess what? The moment your customer is satisfied, you're making money. Let me tell you how. Two things happen when a great product happens, when a great service, right, clicks. The person who you're selling to is always going to tell someone else about it. Case in point, ChatGPT. Everybody talks about ChatGPT. Why? Because it's so good. Let's be honest. They don't need to have salespeople all the time telling someone else about the product, because we're already doing their work for them. You know what they're saying? So that's where it starts from. And it boils down to having, that idea of, okay, I'm selling a service, and I'm selling a service that is very good. You realize that you spend a lot less time on, trying to sell. But yeah, I'll leave you at that.
Spoken like a true salesman or a true product guy. I love the ChatGPT example you threw in there, because I personally I need an affiliate link for ChatGPT, because the number of people I've told about ChatGPT, I feel like I was actually having a friend. Let me just digress a little bit. I was having a conversation with a friend yesterday, and she was talking about how she hasn't yet, really used ChatGPT. I was like, people that argue about facts in the days of Google, right? Where people are arguing about things that you can just pull up on Google, and like, that's not true. So why are we arguing? That's the same box of people that are not using ChatGPT in this day and age. You're just making life unnecessarily difficult for yourself. But
Very true.
well, back to your answer. I love the analogy of the church religious aspect of things that you put in there, which I think we'll talk a little bit about later down in the conversation. But I never really saw it from that perspective of why, we are so religious and we believe in pastors. Of the angle you put with trust there. You're the person they know, so they are you are the one that they are going to trust, right? And it's
True.
based on you to deliver on that thing that you're selling to them. But beyond products, right? Let's go beyond speaking about sales and products. Let's talk a little bit about um purpose. What would you say? I know that's like a very elusive topic to talk about. However, I want to hear what your take on purpose is. How would you describe living purposefully, or how would you explain that concept?
I think the best way to live purposefully is to remember that you die. As crazy as it sounds. I think that we get caught up in this bubble. But I think what's most important for us is, in living purposefully, just remembering that one day you're gonna die. It keeps you balanced, and it makes you understand that, everything needs to be done with thoughts. And that's the main reason why I've turned down, and sorry for digressing, I've turned down so many jobs that you'd be surprised, like, why are you turning down those jobs? I just don't see where it gets to, how it helps. At the end of the day, I don't see what it's doing, because we need to understand that there's a time that's been set for each and every one of us, and we need to use that time as best as we can. So when you have that idea, and when you understand that you have a timer on your head, you do things better. Fine, you might say, you might be a lot more pressured, but for other people who thrive under that pressure, because that time doesn't stop and it's not within your control. So if you look at it, it's not really pressure, it's always ongoing. It's going to keep going, you're not controlling it, and you don't know what happens at the end of the day. So if you have that in mind, you realize that there are people that have statues, there are people that have things named after them, right? They had just one lifetime, like me and you. But the difference was that they understood that that lifetime is going to end, and they had to be as impactful as they could be while they still could do it. And I think that's one thing that we tend to lose out on when we think that, oh, I'm still too young, or oh, I'm still and that's the reason why, sorry for digressing a bit, why I took this break off of work, because I felt like 10 years, great. I've done a lot for 10 years. It's been beautiful, but I want to spend time on me. I want to spend time on family. And people thought it was crazy. Everyone thinks it's crazy. They're like, why? You could earn so much money in the time. But again, that money does not replace the time. The time is a lot more valuable than the money. Because at the end of the day, I can make that money back, but I can't make that time back. That time is gone. If it's 2 months, it's gone. If I was going to earn 10 million, I can earn 10 million in a heartbeat. 1 second. 1 second doesn't equal 2 months that I've lost. That I could have spent with family, done something that's a lot more, meaningful to me. Created memories that will last for a lifetime. So I think it's just remembering that, one day I'm not going to be here anymore. And I want to be able to, yeah, I want people to be able to look back and say, that guy was a nice guy. Of course, not everyone's going to say that, but to people that I really care about, those that really care about me, to be able to say that, I will also need to understand that the whole idea of time is just a constraint. Do it. Don't wait. No matter how small it is, just do it, man. Like if you have a family member, if you feel like, hey, I'm a bit too sick, or for example, I have a few illnesses that can't really keep me sitting for too long. So sometimes I need to walk around. If you feel like, maybe you need to take some time off to treat yourself, do it. I know colleagues that have passed away from work. Guess what? They got replaced that same day. That same day. I'm not lying to you. That same day they got replaced. So at the end of the day, you just realize that, you know what, yeah, you can't really just say, oh, maybe when I'm 20, or when I'm 30, or when I'm 50, have a plan and just work towards it. If it seems like it's a very big goal, break it down into smaller chunks, right? Have a 1% plan where you just do 1% of the 100% every day. If you're planning to start a podcast, for example, maybe today, name the podcast. Tomorrow, come up with a tagline. Don't do too much, but just do something. So it feels like you're actually, making use of that time that I said is actually finite and will finish one day.
I love your answers. And before I say, it's interesting how you are with your answers. You're actually answering everything I intend to ask you around that topic. For example, the next question I was the next question I was going to ask you was what steps do you take to live purpose or to discover your purpose? And I feel like you just answered it by, the comment you made about breaking it down into smaller chunks and addressing those smaller chunks systematically until you get to the until you eventually get to the end goal, like you're trying
Very
to
true.
what's it called? But if if there would you say there are other steps that you take to discovering your purpose besides that?
Yeah, I think one very important step that I take, and I'm sorry that not everyone might agree with me, is God. I'm it's just for me again, like wherever you call God that works for you is fine. But for me, I think God is also very, very important because everyone has a different idea of what God is, and I'm not going to
Hmm.
be one to judge. But for me, God, because there's so many times when you don't have it figured out, and your idea of living purposefully might hurt someone else, right? Okay, for example, my idea of living purposefully is being blunt, but someone else that what hurt them when I'm being blunt, I hurt that person. I'm living purposefully for myself, but I'm hurting everyone else around me. So sometimes God is that North Star or that compass that directs you to know what you're doing and what you're doing wrong.
Hmm.
That's one. Two is, and I've realized it with prayer, right? I've gotten the best jobs during the points of prayer. I'm not gonna lie to you. And when something happens like that over and over again, it's my own encounter then that tells me that yes, there's a God. It's not what I read or what I saw somewhere. Like 2, 3 occasions I get a job I was praying for while I'm praying for it, while I'm in the process of doing a series of prayers. I'm a Catholic, we call those novenas, right? Where you pray for a period of time. And doing those novenas on 3, 4 occasions I get a job. Come on, like if like they say lightning doesn't strike twice, right? It strikes 4 times. You tell me there's no God. Come on, there's definitely a God. So I feel like that's very important for people to also understand, because everyone's got a conscience. For us to have a conscience, it means there's a higher power. There's something within you that tells you when you're doing something wrong, even without anybody else being there. Something within you tells you that you are doing something wrong, right? And that thing makes me just realize that there's a higher power. So just aligning with that higher power also helps you be purposeful, because again, you might have an idea of what you're doing that is purposeful, but sometimes it might not always be.
Oh, interesting answer. Interesting answer. I think that kind of leads into the next set of questions I want to ask about lessons and insights you've learned over time. Um, what would you say is or are the most valuable lessons you've learned on your journey so far?
I think one thing that I've learned that is very, very valuable is, you can have all the talent in the world, you can have all the intelligence in the world, but if you're not consistent, it's one thing that really slows it down. Um, Consistency is one thing that's very lacking in a lot of people, because again, it's difficult, right? Whatever it is that you're doing, I know how difficult it is in sales sometimes, trying to meet your targets and it's not coming through. So I think consistency is one thing that we have to keep in mind, and consistency mixed with patience. I don't know the word yet that captures those two together, but because you also have to learn how to wait for when it's the right time. Every single job that I've got and I've enjoyed, or every single person that I've worked with, it's happened at the right time. And I was always just very angsty and waiting for it. Like, I want it now, now, now. So consistency and that patience, that mixture of it, to understand that when it's time is going to happen, but you also need to be ready. The consistency is what keeps you ready, but the patience is what keeps you grounded to know that it will come. Just wait for it. So I think that's also very, very important, just to have at the back of your mind. Definitely a great sense of family as well, because no matter how big we get, there needs to be, yeah, there's God, but there also needs to be a physical presence that is directing you as well. That's where family comes in. Family can extend beyond your nuclear family. Sometimes it extends to people around you, that care about you like that. So they also help you understand some of these things, because they mirror off you, right? And I use this example a lot. If you ate something and you had vegetables stuck in your teeth, you would never know unless someone tells you, right? So that's how a bad habit is. And that's why when you're losing track is as well, because you won't know. You just be doing it. And then someone tells you, guy, there's something on your teeth, you didn't take it out. And then that's the same way also, you won't know when you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing. So it's good to always have those people that keep you aligned. It helps, so you know when to quit it or when to change as well.
Interesting answer. Interesting answer. Um, I think maybe that word, I'm not sure, but I think I'll say it's perseverance. When you say consistent and patience, when you add them together, I think it's perseverance, but I don't know.
Yes, yes.
Um,
I work with that. That works for me.
um, just a quick word on patience, though. That's something that learning to be more of patient, because I'm coming to understand, like, patience is not just waiting. Patience is the attitude you have while you're waiting for that thing you want. And I think having the right attitude in that waiting period is what helps you stay consistent. Because
True.
if you have the right bad at the inappropriate attitude, I don't want to use the word bad, but inappropriate attitude, you you're probably just going to give up along somewhere along the line, because the thing has not yet come when you want it to come. So I'm learning, that's something that I'm actually being very conscious about in this period of my life, being patient, or learning to wait the right way. So I just wanted to add that because of your answer. So next question I have.
I wanted to add, go
Sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
I want to just add something random. I want to add something random
Yeah,
that
yeah,
that
go
that
ahead.
that will just add to that. So I watched I watched this I don't know, 2-3 hours ago. I watched this
Yeah,
interview, this YouTube breakdown of designer's career. And you remember designer, right? Panda. And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
what the whole concept of the thing said was just that he got quick too fast. He got big too fast. His first song was his number one song, was his biggest song. So that
Mm-hmm.
thing that you really want, maybe it's not the right time because it might consume you. So everything just made sense to me now, because sometimes I watch something and then I have a conversation and then I say, oh, there's a line to be drawn here. Because with designers, I'm sorry for digressing, it just made me understand that, for him, in our situation, for example, right now, we want that job, we want that car, we want that thing, and then it comes to you. And then when it comes to you, you can't handle it. And then look what is done to him. Now the guy's almost lost his mind. So sometimes I think it's very important to just wait. Just wait. It's going to come. That's it.
And in the waiting, build yourself up, or build the character, so that when the thing comes, it doesn't consume you. I think that's
where the consistency comes
that's
in.
a great, that's a great digression. But let's bring it back. So how has your perspective on things changed over time? Maybe your views on success, or your views on life, or maybe something, an idea or opinion that you held strongly. How has that changed over time?
It's changed. It's changed to be a lot more personal, because one thing that I've understood is that happiness is personal. It's actually very personal. It's not always a reflection of what someone else has, right? See that nice job, that nice car, you feel like, okay, that's what you want. And then when you get it, you realize that no, you probably want something more. Because I've had things that I saw someone have and wished for it. And now I feel like I'm the richest man alive, because everything I want, I have it. And if I don't have it yet, I'm going to get it in due time. So it's not really a race for me to say, oh, I want to get that now, because I've had it. I've gone from earning 29,000 to earning millions on a monthly basis, like in less than 10 years. So and I'm glad that happened, because it kept me very grounded. It made me understand that it wasn't about the money. The more the money came, the more the problems came, trust me. And now I'm just glad, being able to remain content, because that's where the true happiness is. Now I don't want anything that I don't have. And as I said, if I don't have it yet, it's just time. I'll remain consistent till I get it. If it's really important to me, you get what I'm saying? If it's that important to me and I want it, I'll remain consistent till I get it. So it's just that thing that really made me understand that, you know what, man, like with life, you need to always be content, because there's always something that you have that someone else wants, right? There's always a lot of things that you have, and we tend to miss those things by just looking for what we think that, oh, this is what I want. Something that you need, you already have it, but you're losing sight of that to focus on what you want. And that's why sometimes I go on LinkedIn and I talk to my friends and they're like, wow, you're so depressed. They see me, and I don't mean to use myself as an example here, but like, you post so many times on LinkedIn, you're always snapping pictures, you post about what all that's going on with you, you post motivational quotes, you post this, you post that. They feel a bit intimidated. I'm like, why are you intimidated, bro? That's just my own reality. That's what I want to do. If you want to do, and it's true. I used to feel that way as well. I used to come on LinkedIn and feel bad that everybody's got a new job and I don't have a new job, or someone has gotten funded and I have gotten funded. And I realized that it is personal. Happiness is personal. It's internal. And sometimes it just takes time to build. And it's now after 10 years that I'm sitting down, I'm looking at myself, and I'm like, guy, why did you ever worry yourself? It was always going to come if you just remain consistent and patient. I'm telling you the honest truth. I remember when I left InterSwitch and I was worried I would never get another job, because I felt like I started at the top. And then VConnect came, the next one came, the next one came, the next one came. And now I'm like, I shouldn't even have had to worry. I should have just stayed consistent. So that's really where, it brings it home for me to understand that, you know what, remain content with what you have, and always just understand that you are the richest person available. Like, as far as what you need, you have it. And what we need at the end of the day is just life and the people around that really, show us love and care, because that's all we really need to get anything in life. That's the basis for building anything. You want to build a career, you want to build, any kind of success. You need people to push you. You can't do it on your own. So as far as you have that love, care, and you're able to breathe, you have the right resources around you, the little things, right, they can really get you very, very far. Very, very, very far. Trust me.
Beautiful answer. I don't think I'm gonna add anything to that.
I wasn't that good, trust me.
Let me ask, Can you share? Can you share like an insignificant moments that that you had in your past that ended up being like or having a profound impact or influence on your journey? You may have touched on it in our
Oh,
conversation so far, but can you specifically speak
yeah.
on that?
Um, Insignificant. Well, to be very honest, it was quite significant, but at the time I didn't really think it was. It was,
Yeah.
hmm, I'll say India, man. Like the racism at the time, the way I reacted to it was aggression. Like, why are you, looking at me and calling me a black monkey? Why are you saying this? Why are you saying that? Like the words were really hurtful, right? But now it's what built my self-confidence. If you put me in front of 1,000 people to sell a pen, I will sell it with a smile on my face. I'm happy. I'm happy to stand people. I'm happy to show you that I can do it. Like I'm very happy to do it. Like that's just who I am. And it has gone from feeling timid and feeling like, oh, why is this guy so I used to feel bad. Imagine like I left Nigeria, as I said, it was the first time on the plane. I'd never been in a plane, so I never even knew that I never knew that racism existed, right?
Mm,
And
mm,
when I got there and I'm experiencing this thing, it was a blow, and I was like, what to me? What did I do? Like I didn't do anything. I dress well. I speak good English. Why do these guys not like me? It is what built my self-confidence. Without that racism, trust me, I would not have been able to achieve half of what I've done today. Because it makes you understand that you can do it. I don't know how to explain it. It's just like the extra ginger, it's the extra motivation. Because first of all, it starts off as someone insulting you, calling you black, you get angry, you react. And then after a while, you're like, wait, look at the guy who is telling me that I'm nothing. I'm better than him, right? I can speak English. He can't speak English. I'm dressed better than him. There's always something with someone who is reacting to. I'm just using India as an example. At that time, there's always something with someone
mhm,
who seems to hate you. They want something that you have, and the only way to react is to be aggressive towards you. So when I sat back and understood it, I was like, wait. So these guys are just trying to get me to react because they want me to bring me down to their level, right? I'll show you that I can be better than that. I created a brand called Ebonite when I was in school. Ebonite was basically a response to racism using clothes. So we had clothes that talked about racism, and there were people who I'd seen. This was the funniest thing that ever happened. Someone was racist to me wearing my clothes, like wearing my clothes. Oh, yeah, I just laughed at them. I was like, okay, don't worry. I don't mind, don't worry. You already pay for my clothes. So I'm not even going to sweat it. It's fine. You can be racist to me. That's not a problem. But I started a brand. And that was just my own way of reacting because I just felt like, you know what, I'm not going to be aggressive. I'm just going to design t-shirts and stuff. Yeah, it wasn't successful as it was back then now, but it was my own way of reacting to just let people know that, okay, look, we can do more. And now I'm telling you the honest truth. It was insignificant then because I felt like it was just something I had to cope with living in India. It has built up my self-confidence. The trip I told you about that I was sent to Liberia, right?
mhm,
I had an hour's notice that I was going to give a speech. An hour's notice. I wasn't even dressed for the occasion. I didn't even have a presentation. I got there, I got to Liberia the day before, the day after. I got to Liberia that day, in fact. I didn't know the event was happening that day. I got there, put my bag upstairs, came down my laptop. Luckily, the event was in the same hotel I was lodged in. When I got down, they're like, "Oh, you have a speech in a few minutes." I'm like, "What?" Like, yeah, okay, no problem. I pulled up a presentation. I went and did that. It is because of the racism. Honest truth. I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't go to any um um public speaking class or anything. No, it was the racism that made me understand that anything that is said before me that I cannot do, anything, anybody, anything at all, any being that feels like you're bigger than me, I'll show you I'm bigger than you. So that's just what it
mm,
was. And I don't have to do it in an aggressive way. I'll show you in a way that will make you understand that, oh, I remember that guy. So anybody who attended my speech in Liberia, trust me, if you ask them, oh, remember that guy, they definitely will still remember. And that's something I'm really proud of because the racism now made sense because it is what made me into who I am. It made me have that self-confidence to be able to speak, to be able to talk, to be able to articulate my feelings very well, and to be able to also learn new things. Because at the end of the day, you need to realize that I also learned new things. I learned new ways of reacting. I learned that there are better ways to react than just being aggressive. So beyond just understanding that, oh, I have something in me, it made me understand that I can add more on top by also learning, listening, picking people's game and understanding what they do better than me so I can also be as good as they are.
It's a beautiful answer. Beautiful answer. I love the fact that um just to summarize it, I think, it helped were able to channel all that energy, that experience taught you how to channel negative energy and use it positively, you know. And that's something
Very
that
true.
I think it's a very useful trait to be able to use to walk through this life, because there's a lot of unnecessary negative things that are thrown at you, especially when you want to do
Very true.
something purposeful. So
Uh-huh.
having that mindset of, would I say, mental alchemy, being able to take all that and spin it into something positive for you and for the people around you is a very useful trait. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. Um,
Welcome. Welcome.
so the slogan for African Mavericks is bet on your truth. Bet on your truth. When you
Okay.
hear that, what comes to mind?
Bet on your truth. I'd say what comes to mind is taking a stand, taking an unpopular stand, I guess. Something that people might not really understand at first, but initially they tend to understand it. So maybe just that what your opinions are not going to be so popular, but that they make sense and they are your own truth, but you're willing to stand by it. So that's why I can put behind that.
Hmm, okay, thank you. I'm taking in people's opinions on that.
Okay, that's right. That's right.
Um, so let's go into a little like fun but philosophical questions still. Um, if
Sure.
you could describe your life journey with a fruit or a song, a fruit or a song, what would they be and why?
Oh, if I could describe my life journey with a song, well, I can't think of one right now, to be honest, because my music taste is crap. So sorry, sorry, but okay, okay,
How about fruit? If you can't do song, how about fruit?
fruit. Okay, fruit. I would say, um, I don't even know what that fruit is called though. But I'll describe the fruit. Don't worry, I'll describe it for you. I'll describe it. Yeah, there's this fruit. Yeah, back in the day, I don't know what it's called.
Mhm.
Right,
Okay.
when you eat it, right, the inside looks like it's small. The inside looks like a coconut. Well, it's not like a
Okay.
coconut. Like it's just got like the thing that the coconut has. And then when you
Yeah.
break it, there's another seed inside that you can eat. I don't know
Yeah.
what it's called, but back in the day, there was a tree in front of my house where we used to pluck it. It had like an oval type of shape. It's green initially, but when it ripes, it becomes yellow. Sometimes it becomes a bit red. It has some sort of like a sweet taste, right?
Yeah.
But that fruit is the fruit that keeps on giving. So that's why I want to use that to describe myself, because I feel like there's so many layers to me that eventually, if you just understand me on a more granular level, I'm just about, helping people, because I feel like that's how I got helped. Everything that I got, everything that I have came as a product of me helping everybody else. So that's just what I feel.
Hmm. Interesting answer. Interesting answer. So now imagine your life was a book, right? What would you call this current chapter, the title of this current chapter?
Hmm. The awakening, definitely.
The
Because,
Awakening.
bro, trust me, after 10 years, definitely the awakening. After 10
Okay.
years, and I'm now like, okay, you know what? I want to take a step back and do my own thing. Everybody went crazy, trust me. My previous bosses were calling me like, how far? Are you sure you don't want to come back to work with us? You've got your job open and all that. But I'm like, no, I need to take some time. Like, let me just realize what I want to do. Yeah, it might not be. It's of course you're not gonna be. I'm not gonna be earning any as much as I used to, but it's okay. I feel like that time is also very important for me to just take and you know re-engage, just to reanalyze stuff and see how I can be better. So I'll tell you, yeah, I'll tell this chapter is called The Awakening. it's going to be new stuff going forward. That's a lot more conscious.
Interesting. Let me ask a digression, quick digression. Did you hammer or something? Like,
Did I
what
what?
did you hammer? Make some very a very what's it called?
No, no,
Fruitful
no. Actually,
investment.
so actually, I didn't. I didn't. It's just, again, that realization that, man, life is going to end at some point.
Yeah.
Take a step back to enjoy it while it lasts. It's a lot more valuable than money, and I think that realization is what made me just take a step back. Really.
Well, as I said, I was just being facetious because I'm in that same phase where, like, I took a break from the 9 to 5 to figure out myself and figure out how I can be of value to the world. And I think just in the few months that I've been, this like 6 months now, it's been a it's been a hell of a journey so far. And I can understand why people shy away from taking that step because it comes with a lot of challenges. It comes with a lot of um. You have to face yourself. You have to face yourself and face like the dark sides of the things that come up. And I'm not sure a lot of people um want to go through that. I won't say can do that because anyone, if you put your mind to it, you can do it. But I don't think a lot of people are willing to go through that. So yeah, from someone who is in the same phase to another brother, keep on, man, keep on. Um, what would you call the book though?
Only thing is, I actually have a name. A mile in my shoes. Yeah, a mile in my shoes. Because the book
Mali.
is going to be a summation of a lot of things that I've done in my life. But yeah, you can just read the book to walk a mile in my shoes. That's an idea. But yeah, a mile in my shoes. That's what's going to be called.
Interesting. When you write that book, send me a side copy.
Definitely, definitely. Trust me.
Are you someone that likes to read?
To be honest, no, I
No?
don't. It's
Okay.
crazy, right? Yeah, I did love that in uni that right now. Except it's
Oh,
an audiobook. I love audiobooks. I love audiobooks because I like taking notes when
okay.
I'm listening to stuff. That's the best way to get me if it's something that I can listen to.
Yeah.
Because so much reading in school, I got tired of it. But now, if you put something I can listen to easily, I love audiobooks.
Okay.
I love them. I love them. I
Uh,
think they're a great invention. But yeah, that's just
okay.
me.
Okay. Well, the reason why I asked is I was gonna ask if you could recommend one book that everybody should read, what book or listen to, what book would that be?
It would be the 50th law for sure. For
The
sure.
50th
Like,
Law.
come on, like for sure, 50th
Mm,
law. Yeah,
mm.
yeah, come.
Well,
Like,
that-
it's a no-brainer. Like, just don't read the whole thing. You don't need to listen to the whole thing. Just listen
Yeah.
to a bit. You will understand what I'm talking about. It helps you understand the whole aspire to perspire, but on a granular level. It's
Yeah.
not aspire to perspire that you don't understand. It's something that you can really relate with because, again, it's someone who we all know, someone who we know his story as well, and we see how that relates to the great 48 laws of power, 49 laws
Mm-hmm.
of power, the book that was written.
48
Yeah, no,
laws. Yeah.
I've not read
Yeah.
that one book. Yeah, the 50th one was one that I really loved. It was a great book.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. I actually listened to that book, and yeah,
Me too.
it 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 def it definitely sparked a flame in me. I loved how 50 broke down the things that we were seeing, in the media. It was interesting to see how calculated all those moves were. I was like, man, this guy is actually a very brilliant and calculated individual.
Very true.
And
Very
it
true.
makes sense that he's such like he's built such an empire for himself. It makes sense after you've listened to that book. Like
Very
this
true.
guy actually was calculated and he came into this game with sense. So yeah, thank you for that
Very
suggestion.
true.
I'm actually listening to that again. Add it to the listening list again this year because I listened to it, was it last
It's
year or
a
two
great
years
one.
ago?
Yeah, and the good part about it is that he read it himself, so you can also relate with him to see where he's coming from.
Yeah.
I like the audiobook. There are parts where Robert Greene comes in, and there are parts where 50 comes in. So it was just really decent to have
Yeah.
that interchange. But yeah, mostly because 50's part was him saying his own stories himself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Great suggestion. Great suggestion. Now, if you could witness any event from the past, present, or future, any event, past, present, or future, what would you pick and why?
think past, present, or future. Man, I would just like to see Arsenal win Champions League with my dad. But unfortunately, my dad's late now. But yeah, I'd have loved to see Arsenal win the Champions League with my dad. That'd have been the one. Because yeah, we're so close while he was alive, but we couldn't do it. So yeah,
Oh
that would be
wow,
the one for sure.
that's a nice one. I'm sorry to hear about your dad's your loss.
Ah, that's all right. Thank you, man. Thank you. It's all right.
Um, I will let that slide because of the emotional context you've added to it because I'm a Man U fan.
You don't even respect this allowed.
I'll let that sleeping dog lie because of the context you added to it. So yeah, thank you. Okay, so the next question I was gonna ask was, if supposing your life is a journey, right? What vehicle are you traveling
Yeah.
in, and what does that say about your approach to life? Now, the vehicle doesn't have to be a car. It could be a plane, it could be a train, it could be a motorcycle, it could be keke napep, whatever. But
I'd say
what vehicle?
I'd say a locomotive train. Because it
Okay.
has its own path, it has its own speed. It doesn't have any competitors on the road that it's trying to get past or trying to double cross. It just has its own pace and its own speed. It will get to where it's going to in its own time, right? A path has been laid out for it already. As far as it continues going on that path, it's going to be okay and to get to its
Mm,
destination. So I say, yeah, definitely a locomotive train. Slow, steady, on time, its own speed, nothing rushing at all, just moving steadily.
I love that answer. Yeah, a few people have actually mentioned trains, but for different reasons, and It's just interesting to see that. Now, if you could have a 1 hour conversation with any historical African figure, dead or alive, any
Yeah.
African personality, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Um, any historical African figure, dead or alive, it will be Dora Konyede. It will be Dora Konyede. And Dora Akunyili. She
Okay.
was the she was the she was the head of NAFDAC back
Mm,
when I was growing up.
okay.
And she really did a great job back then, like keeping fake drugs off the street. She
Mm,
had so many awards and she died. I can't remember what happened, but she just died. And I think the main reason why I want to speak to her is to understand how did you do it? Like there were attempts on her life. Her office was bombed multiple times. Her house was bombed a few times. Her car was bombed a few times by people who sell illicit drugs, fake drugs at cheaper cost to make money. So her job as the DG of NAFDAC at the time was basically fighting fake drugs, right?
mm,
And the
mm,
spread of fake drugs, which obviously is affecting people.
mm-hmm,
But surprisingly, there was a full business model around that that people were benefiting from.
mm,
And those people were very deadly to the extent where they were trying to get her killed. So I think what I really want to understand is how were you able to remain resilient in the face of all of this? Like you could have lost your life multiple times. You definitely lost, you know, money would have been thrown at you multiple times. How are you able to resist and do that? I really want to because I have my own understanding, but I'd like people to tell me so it helps me solidify, what I'm thinking, if it's right or how I can also make it better. Because again, that's a high level of resilience to be able to stake your life. We like to say it. Everybody likes to say how nice it sounds. I'll put my life on the line for that. I'll do this now. But when it's really about that, you really understand that it's a huge difference. When you believe in something and you're putting your life on the line for it, you're willing to put your life on the line for
mm,
it. There's a different kind of cojones that comes with it.
mm. That's very true. That's very true. Um, if you were given unlimited resources to address one of Africa's major problems, which one would you pick and how would you go about it? It's like, no, I can see you shaking your head.
I knew the answer already. Like it was a question that I already knew the answer to before you finished. So trust me, I'm adjusting my seat to address this one very well. So I think
Okay.
for me, particularly for me, like in all the sectors I've worked in, and I think definitely power, right?
Mm,
Power is a huge
mm,
problem in Africa, and the major way I'll address is through solar energy. I mean, for me, it's a
mm,
no-brainer. While I was working in renewable energy, there was a disconnect between, the policies that make it sustainable and the practices. I'll give you an example. I don't know if it has changed now, but when I was developing mini grids in Nigeria, there's a rule in Nigeria that says before you can develop a mini grid, you need to go at least 20 to 40 kilometers from the last pole. Whether that pole has wire or doesn't have wire, you must go at least. So you cannot compete with NEPA. That's the idea. NEPA has created a rule where even if you're trying to create a renewable system that will benefit everyone, they don't want it anywhere close to their systems. So, there are such policies that are very detrimental to the growth of not just the sector, but the growth of the potential of people, because power is very important, right? Without power, you can't do much. So I think for me, what's most important is if I had all the resources, I'd start from clean out the policies and having the right practices in place for solar energy in Africa in such a way that it's pay as you go. Because a lot of companies say they do pay as you go and they don't. We understand that Africans can afford the overhead cost of, these expensive systems of, power generation, solar energy, batteries, and all that. So if you make it pay as you go in a way that is easy for them to be able to access and pay, a lot of them are more than willing to pay. You'd be surprised to actually see what the indices say about, ability to pay, in terms of Africans and in relation to power. So yes, definitely power, but focusing more on policies and practices.
mm, mm. That's an interesting answer. And I wasn't expecting you to go there, honestly. But yeah. But yeah, I do agree with you though. Power is something that needs to be definitely be addressed. Um, just a funny story. When I came back to the States here, in 2019, people kept on asking me, even my friends that I had before, because I did college here, then I went back to Nigeria for 7+ years before I came back in 2019. And even my friends were asking, like, what's the difference between America and the state and Nigeria? And usually they asked me when we're out like in an establishment or like a bar or just out and about. And my answer was always, how we've been here for like an hour plus, right? They're like, yeah. Has the light gone off? They're like, no. I'm like, I'm like, that's the difference. That's the difference between here and Nigeria. Having to
Very
explain
true. Very, very true.
some of the Americans here that don't know about Nigeria. I'm like, um, I'll have to explain to them what the concept of taking light means. Like you mean you pay your bills and they still take the light? I'm like, yeah, we pay our bills, but it's just on it, the power is just interrupted. But yeah, so I can definitely resonate. That answer resonates with me very well. I usually ask the guest I speak with to give me a question they want me to ask the next guest, right? So the last guest, before I ask you the question that the last guest asked me to ask you, what question do you want me to ask the next person I have on the show?
I think you can ask them what what sustainable ways do they feel the people in Nigeria can take back our economy and make it better, regardless
Okay.
of who is in charge, right? So if it's a Nigerian, that would be great. If it's an African, that would be a lot more complex. But I really want to hear you know, how do they feel people can take back our economy? Let's not talk about protests right now and all of that. Like, what can we do to boost our economy and make it a lot more sufficient for us? Taking into consideration the fact that let's work like we don't have a government, right? Amongst ourselves, what can we do to make it better for ourselves?
Hmm. Interesting question. Interesting question. I'll have to go back to listen to that and get the correct thing. But um, what sort of sustainable ways can we as Africans take back and boost our economy without the government involved?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, all right, got it. So the question from the previous guest um is what what's one intentional thing you intend to achieve this year? What's one intentional
Mm.
thing you want to achieve this year?
Mm. One thing that I really want to achieve this year would be, I know it might sound like it might sound a bit weird, but to work on my podcast to make it better. I say that on another podcast. This sounds crazy, but yes, I think the one thing I really want to do this year is to make my podcast something, because I feel like sales isn't talked about enough.
Mhm.
And sales is everybody's job, right? There's nobody who's a salesman for Nigeria,
Mm,
right? There's nobody who's a salesman for Africa.
mm.
When we go abroad, we just say the good parts about it and we say the bad parts about it as well, right? But I think sales as a whole, because it's the basis for everything, right? And I feel like being able to really do as much as I can, have as many guests, do something as interactive as this conversation, that would definitely be. I'd say, yeah, I did something great this year. If I can have an episode like this on my podcast, that would be good for me as well.
Awesome, awesome. And if there's any way I can help you achieve that, definitely I'll be down to help in any way I can.
I appreciate that.
You know,
I appreciate that.
it's
I appreciate that thoroughly.
sure. Um, Chuchu, that brings us to the end of this amazing conversation. I really have enjoyed the conversation. I hope you have as well.
Yeah, I have as well. I have. It's been good.
You're a very passionate and um spirited person. Um
Yeah. There's a lot that racism can do to you, trust
s-
me. A lot.
sorry?
It makes you spiritual. There's a lot that racism can do to you.
Oh wow.
It makes you very spiritual. You become you become very spiritual, I guess.
I can just off the record, I can actually um I can put myself in your not even I don't want to say put myself in your shoes, but I can just imagine what that experience is like because I've over here in the States as an engineering student, I had to, you know, interact with a few Indians, in my department. And it was an interesting experience with them. They definitely see you differently. You know, they look at you differently. And it
Very true.
just being a black man in America, in certain fields that in the industry I've been in, I was in tech sales before I left. So, just hopping on a discovery call and it's me with my locks and my beanie. That was you had to scale that hurdle and get them to understand that, listen to the words coming out of my mouth. Don't be taken by you're saying. Listen to
Fair
the
enough.
words coming out of my
Fair
mouth.
enough.
But yeah,
Fair enough.
that's pretty much all I got, Chuchu. And on your end, like for real, if there's any way I can be of help with you with the podcast, let reach out to me and let me know.
Definitely, man. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. All right, Chuchu. It was a pleasure, man. Really, really enjoyed the conversation, and I really got a lot from your story. It's interesting to see how just by my own personal takeaway. You had mentioned how you only have a undergrad degree, but just listening to you and the way you explain things, it's evident that the experience you've had over time has you know had a really huge impact on your thought processes, how you think, how you communicate. You're very articulate. I think you're a very articulate person, so I really got some value from, having this conversation with you.
Appreciate that, man. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. The feeling is mutual as well. As I said, I just always, when you ask me about the fruits, what I see myself as, what did I say? The fruit that just keeps on giving, because I feel like that's the way you get stuff back. So it's mutual, honestly. Like for me, I feel like if you really want to get stuff from the world, give. I just keep giving without expecting. So trust me when I say
Exactly.
I'm more than happy to also help out as well. I think it's evident from the call. Just jumping on this and just being. Trust me, I learned a lot as well that I'll put into my own podcast to try and make it better.
Yeah.
And just try and really, because again, at the end of the day, there's so much that we can get from these conversations
Mm-hmm.
that will help the next person building a startup. They
Mm-hmm.
might stumble on this and realize that, hey, there are two guys that I watched their interview the other day, and one guy was an engineering guy that had dreads on and said he used to be a tech sales guy and he's done so much. And the other guy had tattoos on and he says he's worked in tech sales for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
We are breaking the norm already.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? And that really helps
Facts.
me to understand that, there is no norm. Guess what? NEPA just took life. So that's for you. That's for you to end. I was waiting for that to happen. I knew that was going to happen. So I'm glad he ended that way. I'm really glad he ended that way. He couldn't have ended without the positive. Like, so I'm really happy this happened. Trust me. That's my cue.
All right, ChuChu. Let me let you go, man.
All right, my G.
Cheers,
Thank
man.
you very much, man.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers, bro.
All right, well, you too. Yeah.
Hey guys, so there you have it. We've come to the end of the episode. I really hope you enjoyed listening to the conversation as much as I enjoyed having it with our guests. If that's true, please go ahead and like the video, share your thoughts in the comments because we would love to hear what you think, and also share this with a friend. We believe one of the best ways this channel is going to grow is through word of mouth marketing or peer-to-peer sharing. So please go ahead and share this with someone who you feel would find it just as valuable as you did. And also subscribe to the channel because why not? You want to be you want to stay in the loop for when we drop new content. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And last but not least, we've got some merch. I'm actually wearing one of our t-shirts with our slogan, "Bet on your truth." So go ahead and head to our website. The link is in the description. While you're there, if the spirit leads you to cop one or two things, or maybe even more for yourself and your loved ones, please go ahead and do so. So that's it for now. I remain your host, Ezeoke, and until next time, I wish you more life, more love, more blessings.